It's cute, it's adorable, it's a dancing baby Groot, and everybody wants one, so let's make one. So for the base of this little baby, I'm actually going to be using Worbla. So first I just cut it into strips about a ½ inch wide and a few inches, 4 or 5 inches long. They're all various, so the branches are going to be various sizes. All I do is heat up the Worbla and start rolling it into little roly, what are those things called? They're like tree branches. We're rolling pretty much these Worbla strips into the branches that are gonna make up Baby Groot. And you should make yourself a variety of these, both in different thicknesses and lengths. And once that's done, you're gonna take one of the thinner pieces and start cutting it down into little tiny like 1-inch strips. And these are gonna make the branches that make up his hair, like the hair branches on his head. But before we move on, we need these little pieces of Worbla to look more like tree branches, so heat them back up and roll off the edges to a taper. Next, I decided to make the base of his body, which I'm pretty much going to wrap the other branches around. So this is just a basic tube that you're going to have to hold everything else up on. So push it down to the right size that you're going to want your baby Groot to stand. Then to make his face, I cut a few squares of Worbla out. I think they're about 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. And I just kind of stacked a few together until I had the right thickness, and then just began to shape it while it was hot till I got the shape of his face. And then using an X-Acto knife, I cut out the details of his face, and I used 2 little small beads to make the indents for his eyes. And then to support the head, I just rolled a little ball out of the Worbla and stuck the face to the front. I reheated the body tube, stuck it to the head little bulb, and then while the Worbla was still kind of moldable, I shaped his body to like the curvy dancing groove that I wanted. Okay, now everybody stop. Stop what you're doing. Go to the kitchen, get yourself something to eat and something to drink, and stay healthy, my friends. And then, now we can continue on. Then I just cannot spit out the words today. Blah, 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 blah. And then taking your heat gun, I'm reheating up the little twigs I'm using for his hair, heating them up and just sticking them to the top of the head and then forming them following the shapes of the picture to make it look like the branches growing out of his head. And then just continue this process until he has a full head of branchy hair. Now taking your fake branches of Worbla, they're the same thinness, whatever, but they're about double the length. We're going to start to fill up the back of his head. So we're going to place these branches right at his neck area, and they're going to fill up the top of his head and kind of blend into the branches you did earlier. And I know you guys can't see me as I'm talking to you, but as I do these voiceovers, I'm like motioning with my hands what I want you to do and how the branches look. So just try to picture me, and as these branches flow, make them flowy and natural looking, okay? Got it? Yes? Okay, we're moving on. And so back to those bigger branches that you made at the very beginning of the video, we're going to start to make his body. So go ahead and just take one, start to heat it up, and we're going to start placing it around his little body base. So start at the bottom and just start curving it and wrapping it around his body. And you can pretty much stop these pieces right around his neck. We don't want his neck to get too thick because as you can see from the picture that I referenced, he actually has a neck, so don't get it too chunky in that area. And again, make sure you have a variety of lengths and thicknesses for these branches to make him look more natural. And lastly, we've got to give him his wiggly dancing arms. So go ahead and just take strips of Worbla that you think is going to be the length of his arm, push it in, make sure you really connect it to the Worbla so they don't fall off. I use my X-Acto knife here and really push it in between the gaps of the other branches. Make sure it's very secure, then form it into the shape you want him to be dancing in. Yay! Congratulations! You have a little dancing Baby Groot statue! The last thing I did before starting to paint him was I just used some super glue and stuck some beads on for his eyes. And I'm going to be using acrylic paint to kind of detail this dude. I'm using a light brown to start off with and just using a painting palette and a really thin brush. I'm pretty much starting in the crevices, so the places in between the big branches, the cracks in his head where the branches meet, pretty much starting at like his head, but as the branches fan out like by his fingertips and the tips of his hair, I leave those the natural Worbla color. I actually found that the Worbla is a really good natural looking wood color and texture, so I didn't even prime him. I just went right on to painting. And oh my god, I'm so sorry, my camera ran out of battery right then, but I didn't notice it and I just kept on painting. So here I am actually onto the black, which I did just over the dark brown. So in the places that gets really dark, like in the crevice underneath his jaw or at the places where his arms meet his body, just added some black, as well as down at the base where he would be sitting in the pot of dirt. And for the final touches of paint, I'm adding a bit of this minty light green color, and I'm doing this at the very tips of the branches at his head as well as on his fingertips. And after that, your dancing baby Groot is done.